Hey folks, man, this is Monk. We are back with another episode of Classics and Cinematics. I'm joined as always with my co-host Bobby Blockbuster.
Yo.
Yeah, folks, so today we got an interesting film. This is going to be of the horror, suspense, thriller variety. We're going to be talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1992. This is a film directed by Francis Ford Coppola. And in this film, Count Dracula, a 15th century prince, is condemned to live off the blood of the living for eternity. Young lawyer Jonathan Harker is sent to Dracula's castle to finalize a land deal, but when the Count sees a photo of Harker's fiancée, Mina, the spitting image of his dead wife, he imprisons him and sets off for London to track her down. Yeah, so this film has a pretty stacked cast too, man. Gary Oldman playing Count Dracula. We got Winona Ryder playing Mina Harker. We've also got a young Keanu Reeves in this thing, man. We've also got Anthony Hopkins playing Van Helsing. We've got some other people in here, but we'll get into that later when we get into the cast. So let's kick it off, Bob, man.
Yeah. You know, one thing I like about this movie most is that it's a stylized film that knows exactly what it wants to be, and it fully embraces that, you know. And at its core, it's a love story, you know what I'm saying? And it pretty much, it's told through the eyes of Dracula. He's just another hopeless romantic, you know what I'm saying, at the end of the day. And, you know, what really sets the tone for this is that we open up seeing more about his origin, that he didn't start off as a vampire, and he was pretty much like a crusader for the church, and he's going out and he's doing the church war thing. And, you know, while he was out at war, his wife, you know, gets news that he died in the war, which was a lie. And then she, you know, commits suicide. And, you know, when he comes back from the war, she's dead. And he's like, oh, you know, we'll see each other in heaven. And that's when the high priest tells him, he's like, nah. So she offs herself. Her soul is condemned. And he renounces God, sells his soul to the devil. And that's how he becomes Dracula. It's really cool to see the efforts and the energies that are put towards, you know, this character dynamic, you know, where you see Dracula, he's just kind of like old, withered away. And, you know, he's kind of like monopolizing London at this point. Like, so not only is he like, he's dead and he's heartbroken, but he's a good investor, you know, so he's buying all these properties, you know, because he's trying to make sure you already got this long money. Let's make it last forever, ever, like his life.
I mean, it kind of plays on the mythos of that. Like, what would you do if you could live forever? And that's one subject that comes up when we talk about these characters, and you know, that can live forever. I mean, even comes up when you look at the Vampire Diaries. It's like, how do you live? What do you do? Like maybe if you live forever, you should be able to amass a fortune, you know. But also, like, what happens when people around you start dying and they're like, yo, this bug ain't aging? Like what's going on? You've been alive 150 years? Yeah. Like, but I think it's cool because, you know, this guy, you know, when we meet him in the film, he lives this isolated life away from society. It's just people whisper about him. Like, even, you know, Keanu's character having to go up and meet him. So it's some cool stuff, man. But then the story, I think what, like you said, it's ultimately is a love story, and it's about, you know, this love and the clash of that, you know. So we're seeing him pursuing this woman who isn't his, you know what I'm saying? So Keanu has to, you know, deal with him because of, you know, he's trying to save his wife, you know, from this evil guy that's drawn to him.
Which, you know, Dracula is such a player. You know,
I think that's one thing that's cool about this version of the story. We see him out and about, and it's kind of playing on things, you know, it's like, you know, the thought that we can't venture through the daylight. It's not true. We're just not as powerful, you know, and he's just out and about when we see him, you know, just interacting with people in the street, particularly pursuing Mina, you know, Mira. So that's kind of crazy, man. And I think that's a cool element that some of the other adaptations are missing, you know.
It really, and that just kind of enhances the fact of how he is a mass manipulator and can control, you know, the minds of his victims, so to speak.
Yeah. I think there's always been some kind of romanticism with this character, and the way that, like you said, going from old to young, you see the seductiveness of him, you know, and I don't think that's portrayed clearly in some of the other ones, you know. Like if you go back to Bela Lugosi's, that was all about the seduction of this character, you know. So that version But to have that put into this version, I think is dope. Yeah, Harker, this story, kind of sets off, a lot of stuff is going through him in this. This version is interesting because I feel like in other versions, it's distinct that he's the main character. Yeah. But in this one, he's kind of splitting it with Oldman's Dracula, and
Anthony Hopkins,
Van Helsing. Yeah. So it's kind of a three-way. But Harker, he's probably the least interesting character here for me. But it is set in motion by him. He's this real estate agent, and we find out that he gets assigned this task because Renfield has been slacking on the job. So
yeah, going crazy will do that to you.
Yeah, so we're gonna send Harker off to pull up the slack, and then it's all right. It's an interesting performance from a young Keanu Reeves. I kind of feel like he was a little bit in over his depth in this role, but he does okay. He does okay hitting the awkward points, especially the moments with him and Orlok in the castle. I think that plays really well with him, the awkwardness of and the apprehension. And Orlok's doing this creepy stuff around him, and he's like, whoa, hold up.
It does. But one of the things that this film was highly criticized for was miscasting in Keanu Reeves' role. Yeah. And I think that it wasn't really the director's fault. It was more how the masses viewed Keanu at that time. I mean, coming off of, him being Ted Theodore Logan. No one could unsee that. And he was 89. And then doubling back and doing Point Break in 91 as Johnny Utah. He had that, dissy surfer vibe. Mm-hmm. And you could still hear that in his tone and his cadence when he was talking. He sounded like medieval Ted. You know what I mean? And, he was really trying. He was trying. And I think that, what he did provide, for certain audiences was the look, the young attractiveness, the eye candy for the,
trying to get the young viewers.
Yeah, exactly. But then, it's kind of, it was hard for him to keep his chops going when you're in the likes of
you got some heavyweights around Oldman and Hopkins.
It's got to be intimidating.
I almost felt like he'd be like, whoa.
Yeah, whoa, bro. Strange things are at foot of the Circle K. For me personally, this film is not what it is without Oldman as, Count Dracula.
Yeah, he kills it, man.
That the effort and energy that he put into this character. I mean, he even went as far as to meet up with like a singing coach to learn how to lower his octaves, to have a deeper voice so he could sound more menacing and stuff. But it was not just the look. The voice, it was the look and the essence of the character that he really brought to life.
I think he's playing what's amazing to me, he's playing three distinct characters. I mean, he's playing Vlad in the very beginning, which is way different. Then he's playing the old Count, kind of Orlok figure in the castle. And then when he hits the streets, he's the more modern, younger version. And I'm like,
he's Jerry Dandridge.
This is crazy. And then the moments where he has to jump into the monster makeup, and he's doing those things really well. He really surprised me watching this.
What really sold it for me was the eyes, the facial expression. You could always tell that it was him underneath the makeup. That it was him, fully just giving his all for this character. And this film does not translate without them casting him. So that was awesome. And also, I really, really like what we get from Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing, bringing a whole nother structure to what we thought we knew of Van Helsing. This one was a little more, he had a little more raunch with him, had a little more, he was just a little more dragging his nuts around. He knew who he was comfortable with it. And he also,
He was cracking me up. He has some moments, I love the thing where he's this scientist, but it's also, a lot of it is theoretical science, where some of the stuff he's saying, I can break that down because I know a bit more about it. Nah, that's not quite right. Mm-hmm. But also, he's still more advanced than the people around him.
And he puts his chest out with that. He's like, I might not know it all, but I know more than you. Yeah. So, and it's great. That brings like you said, it brings a comedic value to this film and also to the character. Because most of the time we think of Van Helsing as strictly just a vampire hunter. The mallet and the stake. And this, he had such a personality.
Yeah, and the thing too that's crazy about me, he's so gun-ho and nonchalant about things that the average person who has no exposure to, they're like, what? He's like, yeah, we gotta take the heart out and chop their head off. They're just saying that, and they're like, they're just horrified. What's I'm not even. First of all, I gotta accept that the reality of what is really happening with vampires and the undead and stuff, and you're just speaking like this is like everyday work.
It's normal lunch conversation. Like, where you been? What rock you been living under?
But it's awesome in a way because he comes through like he's got the science, the intellectual stuff, but he's also ready to get busy when it's time to fight.
Quick fast in a hurry.
Yeah. He's not playing,
quick
bro.
Fast.
Like he's quickly accepted the situation, man, and he's not messing around, bro.
Yeah, and also, we can't talk about all this romance and all this stuff that's going on without Winona Ryder's character Mina. She definitely brings the softer side to it, the woman perspective, as the one being pursued by the beast, by the entity, by the force known as Dracula, and how she's trying to navigate through that with, supposed to be married to Harker or getting married, already kind of being engulfed and immersed in that situation, but then realizing that, her love and her heart really lies to Dracula because she finds out that she is somehow, some way, a reincarnation of the love that he lost, thousands of years ago. And once that comes to the light, she wants that. She embraces that. That's that feeling, you know what I'm saying, that she really wants.
She's really good in this, man. She's better than Keanu.
Yeah.
Like, what got me though? We were talking earlier, and it was like you said. I feel like other versions of this paint this like Orlok or Dracula is the one that's this menace, and yeah, he's trying to do some crazy stuff, but at the very last minute, he tries to back away from this situation.
Yeah.
He's like, I love you too much to condemn you to this eternity that I'm suffering through, and he gives her out, but she embraces him, and is the one that forces him to turn her into the vampire. And I thought that was a really crazy dynamic of this, man. It really speaks to. Like, in a way, it gives her agency, you know what I'm saying? In a way, even though it was probably because she couldn't resist him, in some kind of way, but she's not a victim.
That's the thing. Yeah, she's not, because it's not that she can't resist him because she's under his spell. Yeah. She can't resist him because the feelings are too strong. You know what I'm saying? Because I think, once in a lifetime, you might find your person. And when you do, you have to fully embrace.
And that's crazy. That. She loves Harker, of course, Harker, but also, this is like, this is my soulmate.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's crazy.
I mean, and how could he not?
I feel like most people settle in life. Not that that's a bad thing, but there's probably someone out there that you're more compatible with, more attracted to, more in vibe, in sync with,
more aligned with. And dude, he knew he had her in the bag when he looked her in the eyes and was like, "I crushed oceans of time for you." So you can say that and mean it, but who really mean that shit?
But the thing is, he's got these poetic bars, and I think that's what boosts this film up a bit for me, because it does play around with some of that stuff, man. The philosophy is there, even when we got Hopkins, giving a narration at parts, like even going back to the Vlad era, and there's moments, even the Demeter, we don't see much happening there. They give us a little quick check-in. All right, people are being missing on this ship, but there's this narration, and it's kind of just poetic and just a real cool vibe, between these scenes as the film's going on.
Bro, the Demeter scene did just enough to make me really want to see The Last Demeter when it came out. Just knowing enough about it, and that this is the transportation from Dracula, from Transylvania to London, and we never really got a movie in that likeness where like, what happened on the boat? You know what I mean? So that was really cool. And also, I really like what we got from Tom Waits as Renfield. He fully embodied crazy. We've gotten a lot of different variations of Renfield, and a lot of them are done well. But this guy, I think it wasn't just, his narration, what he was saying, but his look, like with them having him in the jail stripes with the super long arms. That's like, I guess that's like 1840s crazy garb. But, it really worked. And he's like, come on, I'm eating these bugs. I'm waiting to be turned. And, how resentful he got when he found out that, Dracula was not going to turn him. He was just kind of pretty much pimping him for his services. Another glaring, entity of this film is the makeup and costume, or the makeup effects and the costume designs. You can tell a lot of money was put into this. The look of the clothes that they're wearing really embody the 1800s, well, almost going into the turn of the century, into the 1900s. But the makeup effects, bro, like it was so genius for them to give us all of these different variations of Dracula. Like I said, with him being old, with him being young, being a hairy, obscene, nasty looking beast, to even giving us the actual Batman. You know what I'm saying? This was the first time I ever saw that. I mean, we get, variations of Dracula turning into a bat, but actually being the size of a man and looking like a bat, having the bat features. Yeah. This was the first time we got that. And I mean,
even though the wolf too, though, like that's the thing that people don't know. Some people don't know, but Dracula he could turn into fog. He could turn into bats. He could turn into a wolf as well. Yeah. Like that's part of the arsenal, you know. So.
Yeah, that's a good arsenal to have. You know what I mean? And also, I mean, gosh, like how iconic of a horror figure is the old, Dracula. The look when he first meets Harker, and he's got the red robe on and the hair up in like the double bun. I mean, that was creepy on another level. So old and brittle.
The woman had hairy palms, yo.
Right.
Like how much was he beating off? I'm just saying, like, dude, I'm up in his castle, but he got all these women around him too. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that wasn't his true love. So, he wasn't interested in his true love.
Wow, yeah. Dracula in his hairy ass palm. Put it down, Drac. What are you doing? But yeah, man, but yeah, they did a really good job. And then also, like, not just with the costume designs for all the different variations of Dracula, but, with everybody else. I mean,
it looked good, man.
It really looked good. And then that was equally enhanced by the setting and all the set pieces. Like, dude, when Harker is traveling to Transylvania initially, that is so cool, so creepy. The way it's like all dark with the blue hues. And
I feel like most of the films have done a good job of illustrating Harker's journey to Dracula's castle, and all of them are playing with different elements of it. But you see. One thing that's consistent, like in this film, you see the countryside, the darkness, the mystery, the cliffs, the shadows, the things in the background.
One of the things that really stuck out to me is like I said, with the blue hues, because in the book, what they were saying was Harker realized that these blue lights would come up where there was actually treasure, and then you would see the carriage person. He would drop things over the blue lights so he can come back when it's sunlight and dig it up and get the treasures. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So the way that they kind of leaned into that and kind of enhanced that a little bit, thought that was really cool, man. And I mean, yet again, I already spoke on this, but I love that opening scene where you get Vlad out there,
the battlefield,
and paling, and he's actually putting people up on.
I love that shot because it's all like the background is real bright, vivid tone. But then the foreground, the way it is lit is like everyone is almost pitch black in color. Yeah, like if you gotta squint real hard to make out facial features, but it almost looks like you're watching a puppet show, like a shadow show.
Exactly.
And it's just vivid, it's moving, and you see the action. And then, he's clearly won the battle, so all these soldiers get impaled, and I'm just like, yo, this
dude, not for nothing. Tell me he didn't have the most badass
knight
armor, bro. Dude, all red with the waves in it.
It almost looks like muscles, like that you see in muscle tissue.
It was such a preamble to the beast he was gonna become, and it's just so wild that at that point in time, you're fighting for God, so to speak, but your appearance looks very demonic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was wild. The set design is crazy because even that scene after that where he's in the thing and he finds his dead wife, everything just looks so good. Like the interior design of the stuff, and just this is a really good looking film, man. This is my first time watching it, dude, and I was kind of blown away a little bit. I'm like, yo, why did I sleep on this? And I think it was getting really weird, mixed reviews at the time, and you know, from a lot of critics, but it did okay for what it was at the time.
It did better than okay. It came in on a $40 million budget and grossed $215.9 million. So I mean, it did some cartwheels in the box office, and you know, and like the mixed reviews were not about the aesthetic or even the delivery. It was mainly around miscasting with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of people wanted to kind of put their hopes into.
It's interesting because, like I said before, he's not really the main guy in this. He does get an extended sequence with the Count, but it moves on mostly. Like I think even Winona's characters probably get more time, and
justifiably so.
And then the rest of it really is the Count, his stuff, and then the stuff with Van Helsing,
yeah.
You know?
And you know, another thing that I give this movie credit for is it set the tone and gave the confidence for them to open up the floodgates for other films in this likeness to be made, like with novel adaptations. I mean, shit, in '94, then Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire came out. And also, the same year, they dropped Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with De Niro.
Yeah. I just watched that recently, man. That's pretty good, dude. It holds up, man.
And then 2 years after that, you got Mary Riley, which was the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde version with Julia Roberts and John Malkovich. And so this one it showed the cinematic world that these adaptations can be
classic horror.
Yes. And we want more modern adaptations of these, you know, prehistoric novels, you know, that have already been done at other times when there were more limited resources. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, I think that's really cool. And then, I mean, you can't go wrong with Coppola, you know, in his earlier years. I mean, this is the same guy that gave us Apocalypse Now.
That's probably my favorite movie ever, man.
Yeah,
Apocalypse Now.
The same director gave us the Godfather trilogy. I mean, so by him putting his hands on this and being very firm with his direction and really pushing his vision, you know what I'm saying? I really think that had a lot to do with this film excelling as well. And, you know, he made it mandatory for all of the lead actors, actresses to read Bram Stoker's Dracula. He wanted them to be all the way aware and fully knowledgeable of the source material so they can, you know, give their best delivery.
Nah, this is a great film, man. Like this thing, like I said, man, like I think that's what kept me from, you know, actually watching it over years. But then, you know, I got some new interest, you know, with the Nosferatu coming out. So when that came out, I went back and watched the original Nosferatu. I watched the Herzog one. So. And you told me this is probably your favorite version of it, so you know, definitely, you know, cool that, you know, that inspired me to watch it. You know what I'm saying? To finally check this out. I'm glad I did, man. This is a good film, dude.
I mean, and it's like I said,
it might be his last good film. Man. Like there's a lot of stuff on here that I haven't seen or left in the filmography, and he hasn't really done much since '92. He's got a film called Jack the Rainmaker, Youth Without Youth, Tetro, Twixt. And then Megalopolis, and that kind of got panned this year by the critics. I still have a copy, but I haven't watched it yet.